Be blessed by the divine. Imran, this is a video for you. Where does consciousness come from? Consciousness is everywhere. It is an integral characteristic of the primordial state. Our body consists of cells. Cells are self-governing, self-diagnostic, self-healing systems that is able to attract the nutrition that it requires, absorbs the nutrition within itself and store it and recycle it and excrete or eliminate unwanted waste from it. What helps the cell govern it? Consciousness. If you break a cell down, you will get molecules. If you break the molecules down, you will get atoms. If you look into the atoms, you will see electrons, protons, neutrons. But 99% of an atom is empty space. Or is it really empty space? How can there be energy particles that must have originated from the space only? Therefore, that space is not vacuum, it is not empty space, it is the almighty force. The law of cause and effect. For instance, we clap our hands, a sound comes out of it. The sound is an integrated function or characteristic or property that is embedded within the clap itself. According to the intent and the force of the clap, the sound varies. According to our actions, results vary. According to certain causes, effects vary. How can there be precise results for every action that gets performed in our earth? Therefore, consciousness is omniscient, which is present everywhere. Therefore, it is omnipresent. Consciousness is God. Consciousness is goodness. Consciousness governs all of us. When we meditate, our journey of consciousness begins to realize itself. Be blessed by the divine. Thank you for the inspiration.